the first class, and in a very first class I don't actually teach, right? So it's a kind of interaction. We'll get to know about each other, we'll understand the subject, and the most important thing that you need to understand subject and teacher both, right? Because in GS it's a heterogeneous kind of treatment. Lots of subjects are there, lots of teacher would come, they will tell you the things in their own way. But every subject and every teacher has its own way to communicate, right? So we need to get into that too, so that we can get maximum out of this class, right? Audible to hu na main theek se? Anyway, so let's start, and we'll first understand that science, I mean we call it general science and technology. So let's science and technology, right? And I mean these things are there in both prelims and main examination. So in prelims also we have, and in mains also we have it. So the first thing that we are going to discuss is syllabus itself, right? What should be the syllabus, what UPSC says about the syllabus. So syllabus can be of two ways, one UPSC and what we understand out of it. UPSC in prelim says just two words, general science. I am sure that you have already studied the syllabus yaad hoga aap sabko. So UPSC will say just one thing, it's a general science, nothing else. Now we have to decipher what general science mean, right? And the tool is past year question paper. So syllabus will make sense only if you look into the past year question paper, both in prelims and mains, anywhere you go. Syllabus itself will not tell you lot many things. Unless you understand the past year question paper, then it will define the dimension of the entire syllabus. Normally people say that whenever it's general science, it's basically biology, physics and chemistry, and that is also up to 9th and 10th level. That is one understanding. I am not saying this is true, but general perception is like that only. I mean, we all start our preparation with NCERT, and then we study a lot of NCERT books like polity, history, geography, and in that list only you get that 9th and 10th science should be studied, right? And that will constitute your general science, right? That is one thing. But then this is what UPSC says. Altogether the story is different. Here for main examination, UPSC has given some chapters names are mentioned. In mains it is detailed syllabus. Chapters name is already written out there. Let's say the some chapters I can tell you, like biotech is there, nanotech is there, robotics is there, space tech is there, IT and computers, right? If you look into the paragraph of science and technology in paper 3, GS paper 3, you can read all these names out there. Apart from these names, there are something like everyday science and technology, role of science and technology in everyday life, contribution of Indian in science and technology, but then chapters are these only, right? In this chapter only we get everyday science or role of science and technology in everyday life. We'll explore in that only, right? But then this is the syllabus of UPSC. Now, if you look into the question paper, then there are some additional chapter also that we need to study, right? Additionally, we have to add defense tech, right? Because they're asking defense technology question, direct question has came like S400 in main examination. Not mentioned anywhere defense tech, but they're asking, so we'll have to cover it. Then we have to add nuclear tech, nuclear technology. So two technology we have to add, defense tech and nuclear tech, right? Obviously nuclear technology is energy plus weapon system, and energy is very much part of the syllabus. Even in economy, in geography, everywhere you will find energy, but scientific thing related to energy in terms of nuclear energy we'll explore over here, right? So that it can supplement the other part of the GS also. So this is your mains coverage. We are going to cover all these chapters in detail, and chapters will have subtopics, and then we'll get into that too. Now comes to the prelims part, because that's the most dicey one, right? I always say one thing, that competitions are there with the people who have passed the prelims examination. You get my point? And that define the very characteristic of the competition. There may be somebody walking on this road who is much more knowledgeable than you, me, and everybody else. But what's the use if it is not passed? Real competition lies with the people who have passed the prelims examination, right? So you will come across many people who have vast knowledge about a particular thing, but the problem is they are not able to crack the prelims examination, right? So competition in prelims is more than mains, because mains में तो define हो गया ना कि this is a narrow small group, we have to compete over there, right? In prelims UPSC also plays a lot of tricks, है ना? कोई syllabus नहीं है, it's open ground, anything can come up. But if you look into the question paper of last, let's say 15 years, then you will realize these area are not being explored. मतलब prelims से question नहीं पूछते हैं, sorry, physics से question नहीं पूछा, chemistry से नहीं पूछा. Recently biology से कुछ question थे, that is also post COVID. And post COVID the questions are not from biology. Post COVID question are from two areas, virus and immunity. And it's pretty evident why they are asking. So they are exploring the virus because coronavirus. So obviously they won't frame question directly onto the coronavirus, right? And then we always talked about immunity. So the another area is immunity, B cell, T cell they asked in the last year only, right? So that you can call it biology, but again I won't call it biology. It's a kind of current development, and linked to that you have to explore that thing. But still everybody should have the basic knowledge of biology, physics and chemistry. Basic means 9th, 10th level, that's it. Everybody should have it, so that if something new comes, then we are able to talk over that topic. It's not like if I say that, okay, silver is the best conductor and CNT will be 1000 times better conductor than silver. So this should be very much clear. Silver is the best conductor, conductance is very high, resistance is very low, right? So that's kind of, a small thing should be clear. Obviously, we'll have an approach where we'll clear every basics things, right? Considering the fact that, okay, we have studied science and technology or let's say general science long back, and maybe the things are already omitted from your mind. So we'll go back in past, we'll explore the things, and then we'll come to the present situation. But then these are not the area where the questions are coming. So from where questions are coming? So they are asking questions from, additionally, they are asking from basic concepts and applications of technology, right? So this is the area being explored, and this all area coming from here. So whatever we have studied here, they are asking question from that area in prelims. You see the question from biotech, you see the question from nanotech, you see the question from a space tech, IT and all, right? So we very clear that in our approach, it's not like prelims and mains, it's an integrated one. And everybody says the same thing, no matter which subject you are going through. It's not compartment wise preparation. You prepare holistically, then only you get the proper 360-degree comprehensive coverage of everything. And then you develop the approach of dealing the content and applying it for the prelims and then for the mains. Obviously, in prelims you don't need to write answer. In mains you have to write the answer. So approach would be little changed, but the content would remain same. Yes, segregation and classification of content should be there. We'll talk about that too, right? So this is what we are going to do. We'll cover these all things, and everything will be covered in a way that it will be sufficient for prelims and the main syllabus, right? Now let's come to one more thing, and we all know about it, that number of questions. So prelims number of questions would be 12 to 15 questions every year. We get that without any doubt. Although in some statistical analysis they will come up with that the number of question from science was 4 or 5, बट उस साल देखोगे करंट अफेयर के क्वेश्चन में फिर क्या लिखा हुआ उन्होंने 20-22, फिर पता चलता है कि करंट अफेयर में बहुत सारा साइंस है. You get my point? So in that way, if you include that, so science and technology 12 to 15, that is there, 100% that would be there, right? Why 100% would be there? Because Indian Forest Service prelims and civil services prelims. It's the same paper. And in forest service, only science graduate can appear. For them, science and environment is a major issue. So UPSC decided in 2011 that they will have a common prelims examination from both the services, so that the both can appear in one examination and then mains will be separate. And to make this Indian Forest Service aspirant feel better, उनको ऐसा ना लगे कि हमें पता नहीं किधर किस एग्जाम में बिठा दिया. So environment was added, लिख के ऐड किया, पहले लिखा हुआ नहीं था, ऐसे ही था, but added, general science was added. And if you count the question of environment plus general science, the count would go plus 30 plus. किसी भी हालत में 30 plus. Environment and science 30 plus. Conservative figure बता रहा हूँ. If you consider few questions coming from physical geography, that is scientific in nature, then it will even go up. So in environment also there are many questions that can be dealt well once you are okay with the scientific component of it. So it's like science and environment put together, they are framing a question, right? Science, environment and geography put together, they are framing a question. Sometimes there is a question from geography only, but in option something scientific will also reflect. Now obviously you have to choose the correct one. UPSC के पास कोई fair game की rule policy तो है नहीं कि नहीं ज्योग्राफी का है तो ज्योग्राफी का ही होगा, इसमें हम साइंस का ऑप्शन नहीं डालेंगे, है कि नहीं? अगर ऐसा होता तो सबको अलग अलग पूछते ना, जैसे 9th 10th में पूछते हैं सिविक्स का पेपर एक तरफ, हिस्ट्री अलग, तो ऐसा तो कुछ नहीं बनाया हुआ. इट्स लाइक multidisciplinary. One question might have combination of 2-3 subjects, not only topic, even subjects can be added, right? In that way science become important, environment becomes important. So UPSC want to make them feel homely, IFS people. And second thing, that environment and science is very important in the present time, है ना? A country would develop based on the technology, you know that, right? And the biggest concern today is environmental concern. The entire world politics is moving around climate change. Entire world politics has moved around in the previous days nuclear technology, right? And even today the entire world politics is moving around the defense tech and the other technology. There is a bilateral, trilateral, multilateral things going on. Even in IR and all, we always talk about this scientific technology development and association with the other nation. We'll talk about that too. So this will be the approach. Here in main examination paper 3 and 3 to 4 question, not more than that, rather 2 to 4 question, direct one. But then 2 to 4 doesn't matter, even if they ask 1. In mains it's very, very important. Even if it's 1 question, you cannot compromise with that, right? Because you get a chance to write the main examination, then you will try to make maximum out of it, right? And I'm talking about paper 3, 2 to 4, right? In paper 1 also you might find 1 or 2 questions from science background, because there you will find geography. अब इतना बड़ा कुंभ चल रहा है ना, और कुंभ मैनेजमेंट, देयर मे बी वन क्वेश्चन. अब वो कहीं भी पूछ सकते हैं जीएस के कितने एरिया में वो एंटर कर जाएगा, इकोनॉमी भी आ सकती है उस पर, ज्योग्राफी भी आ सकता है. एंड इन कुंभ दे आर यूजिंग LIS, लैंड इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम, राइट? LIS is very much part of geography, but then LIS is based on remote sensing. So unless you know about remote sensing, how will you deal this LIS system? You get my point? So integration of science and technology with geographical aspect, that would be there. Long back there was a question that we are sending mission to Jupiter, Juno mission, NASA, and how these missions would help to understand the atmosphere, the composition of Earth and solar system. So science linked with geography or geology or some certain kind of thing. So that integration would also be there. In paper 2 also, there could be something related to science, right? In paper 2, IR is there, polity is there. In polity, we talk about acts and bills. Then there could be one thing like Indian Surrogacy Regulation Act 2021. So now, if the question is framed around this act, and this question is in paper 3, then you will mark it like science and tech question, right? Same question in paper 2, it will become polity question because it's talking about an act, right? So many such acts are there, many such guidelines, rules, regulations are coming up from the different ministries and different departments, and we'll have to go through that. So again, I'm saying that it's not like that watertight compartments are there कि ये होगा ये नहीं होगा. It's like holistic thing. Why holistic? कई बार हम भूल जाते हैं कि हम करने क्या जा रहे हैं, है ना? हमें लगता है कि there is one examination and we take it as examination only. For UPSC it's not an examination, right? Government को क्या चाहिए? Government को चाहिए trainable candidate, trainable, not trained one, trainable, जिसको लाल बहादुर शास्त्री एकेडमी में भेज के ट्रेन करें और ट्रेनिंग देने के बाद कहे कि गवर्नमेंट चलाओ, अब कंट्री को चलाओ. उनकी रिक्वायरमेंट अलग है. उनको चाहिए एक वेल रेड, फ्लेक्सिबल पर्सन who has learned basics of everything and who is willing to learn anything which come across. ऐसा नहीं कि साइंस टेक डिपार्टमेंट का जो है एसएनटी डिपार्टमेंट में या मिनिस्ट्री में जो वहां पे सेक्रेटरी है उसकी बैकग्राउंड इंजीनियरिंग की होगी, जरूरी नहीं है. हो सकता है उसका ग्रेजुएशन हिस्ट्री से रहा हो और ऑप्शनल भी हिस्ट्री रहा हो, बट अभी वो मिनिस्ट्री किस में सर्व कर रहे हैं? साइंस एंड टेक में. एंड वंस यू टॉक टू दैट पर्सन यू विल बी अमेज्ड. जिस प्रोजेक्ट पे काम कर रहा है उसके बारे में इतना जान रहा है वो इंसान कि आपको लगेगा कि पक्का ये उसी टेक्नोलॉजी का पढ़ा हुआ इंसान, बट नहीं, हिस्ट्री से. सो ही वाज पिक्ड बिकॉज ही इज ट्रेनेबल, कोचेबल, यू कैन मेक चेंजेस. तो फॉर अस इट्स एन एग्जामिनेशन, फॉर देम इट्स अ काइंड ऑफ पिकिंग बेस्ट वन आउट ऑफ द लॉट, है ना? तो बेस्ट वन का मतलब क्या है? सब्जेक्ट शुड बी देयर इन योर कंट्रोल, interdisciplinary approach should be there, you should be able to connect each other, and then at the end of the day you should be able to connect to the development of India. मतलब ultimate role क्या है bureaucrat का? To run the country and run the country in a progressive manner or regressive manner? Progressive manner. That means development of the country. That is why I always say that if you study something in GS and it doesn't link with development of the country, तो फिर हमें रीथिंक करना पड़ेगा कि पढ़ा क्यों था, ये लिंक क्यों नहीं हो रहा है कि नहीं? एकेडमिक्स तो है नहीं ना ये. इट्स नॉट एकेडमिक्स, इट्स अबाउट क्रैकिंग द एग्जामिनेशन, फुलफिलिंग द रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ यूपीएससी. यूपीएससी इज एचआर डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, एज सिंपल एज दिस. वो गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया का एचआर डिपार्टमेंट है. सरकार हर साल कहती है कि हमें इतने आईएएस चाहिए, 2 साल बाद वो अपना प्रोसेस शुरू करता है, कहता है चुन के मैं दे रहा हूँ, ट्रेनिंग दो, बढ़िया आईएएस बन के निकलेंगे, है कि नहीं? सो दैट इज द वे these machineries are functioning. हमें उसी में फिट होना है, right? Anyway, so this is all, and we always follow one thing, that whenever we take one topic, so let's say there is one topic, any subject, any topic, any chapter, we divide it into 4 areas. So the first area will be basic concept, second area would be application, third area would be issues and concerns, and the fourth area would be India and world. India and world, right? This is something that we should understand. Every subject will have its own approach. In science and technology, we will adopt this approach, breaking things into 4 verticals. Anything, let's say quantum computing is very much in news right now, right? Government of India has already started national quantum mission. ठीक है, यूपीएससी में क्वेश्चन भी आ गया, क्यूबिट किसको कहते हैं, किससे लिंक? ओपनिंग तो हो गई उसकी. Quantum computer is opened by UPSC in the prelims examination, so you can expect that more questions would be coming, and now it will reflect in the mains examination also, maybe this year, next year, or next to next year, we don't know. But once it is open, then topic is already there, है ना? So once we start quantum computing or quantum technology, obviously we cannot be quantum scientist, right? तो क्या करना है? Basic concept. The basic concept is starting with what is quantum computer, what is the working principle of it, how it is different from digital computer, which kind of technology and quantum mechanical phenomena are being used, what are qubits, what are quantum dots, what is superpositioning, what is entanglement, all the relevant information that we can grasp, we have to go through. And if you know all these things that I have mentioned, you just clear the basic concept. That means you are through the ABCD of the quantum technology. It's ABCD only. Then you come to what? Application, where all the quantum technology will be applied. उसके लिए कहीं जाना नहीं है, हमें नेशनल क्वांटम मिशन पढ़ना है. उसी में 4 थीमेटिक हब्स हैं, 4 एरिया दैट इंडिया इज वर्किंग. One is quantum computing, second is quantum communication, second application, third is quantum metrology and sensing, and fourth one is quantum materials and devices. So 4 application area we taken it from the Department of Science and Technology. हम कहाँ से लेके आएंगे? है कि नहीं? आकाशवाणी तो होगी नहीं ना कि these are the things. It's already there. We have to pick it up, and then we'll explore all the application. These 4 application we'll explore. We'll also look into the world scenario. If there is 5th and 6th also, we'll explore that too, because आज नहीं तो कल इंडिया में तो आएगा, तो little more progressive we have to look in that way. Then we'll come to the issues and concern कि हम पीछे क्यों हैं, what kind of obstacle we are facing, what kind of setup and systems are required, right? And we'll explore everything, and then we'll compare that what is going on in India for development of quantum computing in India from beginning till date. What India has done in a stepwise manner. पहली मीटिंग कब बुलाई, फिर NMQTA कब आया, नेशनल क्वांटम मिशन कब आया, what is the status of that, and we'll compare with the other countries' achievement. You get my point? Then it is done. आप सोच के देखो, अगर हमने इतना कुछ कर लिया तो फिर क्या बचेगा? There is one way that you read the entire article. क्वांटम पे आपने आर्टिकल पढ़े ही होंगे, 100% पढ़ा होगा, बट पढ़ने के बाद एक फ्रेमवर्क तो बनना चाहिए ना. तो इफ यू रीड समथिंग इन अ रनिंग टेक्स्ट, at the time of reading it's give you a lot of excitement and satisfaction, but उसको बंद करके फिर सोचो कि what is the takeaway. That's the real thing, right? For that you have to devise the way. तो जब भी कुछ पढ़ेंगे तो पहला बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट में क्या मिला, एप्लीकेशन किधर है, इश्यूज एंड कंसर्न्स क्या है, इंडिया की पोजीशन क्या है. इफ वी कुड टेक दिस 4 टेक अवे, देन रीडिंग आर्टिकल वुड बी इजी, पूरी पर्सपेक्टिव ही चेंज हो जाएगी. Because now when you read, your subconscious brain will always look for these 4 verticals, right? And I'll tell you one thing, every subject will have its a unique way to approach. That's the teacher's duty to convey it to you, है ना. टीचर का मतलब ये नहीं होता कि मैं आऊं एंड सब कुछ पढ़ा के खत्म करके आपको दे दूं. मतलब ये होता है कि when once I finish quantum computing or any topic, it's not finished, it's started. है कि नहीं? इसलिए क्योंकि लेट्स से इफ यू आर प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर 2026, मान लो आप में से कुछ है, तो मैंने तो खत्म कर दिया 1 महीने में, बट फॉर यू दिस एग्जामिनेशन इज 1.5 year ahead. So in those 1.5 year, these things and some additional things would be added. So you have to know the device to explore and find out all the things from current affairs. फिर वो रनिंग टेक्स्ट नहीं रीड करना है ना. If we have this format, if anything new comes in, तो इसी में से कहीं जाएगा ना. That is why people are so much worried about how to handle current affairs in science and technology. First of all, you create the verticals, and now you read the newspaper. You will get that either things will come at this place. India ने कुछ नया कर दिया, एक लाइन ऐड करनी है, एक छोटा पैराग्राफ ऐड करना है. Some new obstacle, issues and concern came up. So new application area started, and basic concepts rarely changes. It takes decades to change the basic concept. तो वो तो आपके प्रिपरेटरी टाइम में होने का नहीं है. जो भी चेंज होगा वो इस 3 में होगा, and that is also in a year it won't be more than 5%. It's not like drastically it's going to change, because obviously India has rolled out the plan of NQM, National Quantum Mission, right? This is a 7-year mission. 2031 में कंप्लीट होगा, तब तक तो आप ट्रेनिंग करके वापस आ जाओगे, है कि नहीं. So this mission is there, वही है, वही चलेगा, बस छोटे छोटे पॉइंट्स ऐड होंगे कि उस मिशन में हमने ये भी कर दिया, हमने वो भी कर दिया. इट्स अ काइंड ऑफ अपडेशन. यू गेट माय पॉइंट? सो दिस इज हाउ विल डू ईच एंड एवरीथिंग, विल डू इन दैट वे. देन वन मोर थिंग you should be knowing, that this basic concept is very important for prelims, not that important for main examination, but undermine नहीं कर सकते. prelims very important, mains important, because they won't ask question directly in the main examination. But then this kind of language terminology you have to understand to write the main examination answer. Application is prelims and mains almost equal. You can see that application based question are in prelims also, and they can frame a question in the mains also. Especially in any new technology, they can go with the application, right? UPSC has no mains question complete without this area. वो रहता है. So this is more about mains, less about prelims. And this is also in same way. You can call it like mains and prelims, almost similar, because some plans policy they can ask, but again it is tilted towards a little mains. So for that you need to understand the kind of question they are asking. In prelims, because I am talking about quantum computer only, so in prelims they have asked qubit is linked to which of the following, और 4 में एक option था quantum computer, खत्म. Most easiest question that could come is that only, basic concept से था, but still there is a lot of a scope in basic concept. But in mains they won't be asking any such question. In mains they don't ask what question, you know, question 3 प्रकार के होते हैं, what, why and how. तो what तो बहुत easy होता है, mains के scope से बाहर है. They will ask why and how, more about analysis. What means factual thing. What, whenever the question is initiating with what, it's nothing but furnishing the facts, and that is not required in mains examination. But when the things become how and why, then question get tougher, right? I mean, if I ask what do you want to be, then IAS officer. तो how will you be? तो आंसर थोड़ा सोचना पड़ेगा कि कैसे बनेंगे, चलो थोड़ा. लेकिन अगर मैं ये पूछूं कि क्यों बनना चाहते हो, why, तो फिर थोड़ा और टफ हो जाता है. It require analysis, it require, you know, thinking, but then slowly we learn about it. Anyway, like I told you that today we are going to talk, and I'll go with the easy topic. I think the most easy topic and the most difficult also is biotech. I call it easy because in biology everybody knows something, है ना. अभी नैनोटेक शुरू कर देंगे तो बहुत लोगों को नहीं पता. क्वांटम में भी बहुत लोग अभी भी क्या है ये क्वांटम, but don't worry, it will be easy. But biotech is something that everybody know about. Biotech, some what or other they know about it. And when I say biotech, it has got two words. One is biology, another is technology. Right. So biology, you know what is biology, not a problem. And technology is application of science is known as technology. The most easy definition that we can go, that application of science is known as technology, or let's say application of scientific principles for the human welfare is known as technology. We'll be going to that level also, but here we can simply say that this is application of science is technology. Obviously for human welfare, here UPSC element is there, that it's not, definitions are not according to the engineering, definition is very much according to the UPSC. So welfare word we can add it, whereas biology everybody know about it, study of life or living organism or living organism. So we can simply say study of life or living organism, right? Life is a little difficult to define, although in biology we have definition of life too. So initially it was a study of life forms, study of life itself, but then we shifted focus to the living organism because it's easy to recognize living organism, right? And then we come to a very common thing, that what are the characteristics of living organism, right? Characteristics of living, very basic thing. So like I told you that I'll take you from basic only, and this is the most basic that we can go ahead with. So what could be the characteristics of living? So we can say the first thing I'll tell you, one is reproduction. So scientists keep it at the number 1 because it's easy to find out, right? I'll tell you how. Second one is cell structure. So every living will have cell structure. Cell would be there. No living organism without cell. That is why cell is known as fundamental unit of life. Third one is called metabolism. Metabolism is nothing, in general term we can call it life process, right? जैसे मैंने कहा कि what are the characteristic of living organism, तो आप में से बहुत लोग के दिमाग में आ रहा था कि हम respiration करते हैं, locomotion करते हैं, digestion करते हैं. Put all the thing together and that is metabolism. Whatever we do, so everything, excretion, respiration, digestion, everything that is happening in our body put together and it is metabolism, that is called life process. So we won't go into the details of it, right? And the fourth one is adaptation. Adaptation. So adaptation means changing according to the changing environment. All four are very important, but you know that why reproduction was kept at number 1? Because to observe anything, for observation of reproduction, you don't need any scientific tools and technology. It's just one population and it's growing. It means it's a living population. If I give you the another parameters of cell structure, you need microscope, you need some kind of knowledge and expertise to look into that. Even more expertise would be needed to understand the metabolism. But reproduction is something that easily somebody can find out that okay, this is population, it's a growing population, so reproduction is occurring, right? Although like we have talked about life ki definition kya hai, so this metabolism is life, that's a life process. And what exactly life process is? Life process is all the chemical activity which is going on in our body. One thing we should be very much sure, that life originated out of chemistry, है ना? So there, it's a perennial question ना, कि life origin हुआ कैसे था? Now we know everything about it, and we say that chemical origin of life. It is chemical origin, right? So life came in existence by chemistry. It was hot planet, right? But lot of water vapor was there, so वो बारिश होने लगी. Now planet was hot, the surface was hot, rocky, hot surface, बारिश हुआ. तो सोचो अगर rock hot हो, उस पे पानी गिरेगा तो क्या होगा? Again it will vaporize, right? But in that process, cooling down started, and this rock started cracking. Mineral started coming out, and lot of mineral leached out. And now the water which is falling on this a little hot rock, तो वेपराइजेशन भी हो रहा था, लेकिन पानी जमा भी हो रहा था. लेकिन वो पानी कैसा था? गर्म था, hot water. And all the ditches on the earth that was filled with water, that we call it ocean, है ना? And all the mineral from the rock leached out and then accumulated in the water. That is why the oceanic water is still saline. ये सब उधर की तो मिनरल है. इवेपोरेशन होगा तो मिनरल तो नहीं जाएगा ना ऊपर, मिनरल तो नीचे ही रहेगा. लेकिन अर्थ पे जब लाइफ नहीं थी ना, तो ये पानी जो ओशन का पानी था वो कैसा था? उसको एक टर्म दिया गया है बायोलॉजी में, उसको कहते हैं हॉट डाइल्यूट सूप. हॉट डाइल्यूट सूप, टू एक्सप्लेन द ओरिजिन ऑफ लाइफ. इट वाज हॉट, दैट मींस इट वाज हॉट. हॉट का मतलब बॉइलिंग नहीं, लेकिन हॉट तो था. जितना सूप हॉट आता है ना, लगभग उतना, उससे थोड़ा कम. नॉट थिक एज सूप, बट इट वाज डाइल्यूटेड सूप विद अ लॉट ऑफ मिनरल इनसाइड. मिनरल कंटेंट वाज मच मोर देन व्हाट वी आर हैविंग राइट नाउ. और मिनरल क्या है? केमिकल ही तो है. So this vast ocean of 70% of the earth is ocean with a lot of mineral inside, hot water, and then atmosphere was full of energy. तो perfect situation था ना chemical reaction होने के लिए. तो random chemical reaction हो रहे थे, random कुछ भी बन रहा था. And in this random chemical reaction, one day DNA formed, gradually formed. एक दिन में नहीं हुआ, it took millions of years, but DNA formed, RNA formed, protein formed, they all came together, first cell-like structure formed, and then life came into the existence. That is what the chemical origin of life. It's proven one now. This is what we believe in this present time. So one thing is there that life is a chemical origin. तो हमारी लाइफ भी अभी जो चल रही है वो भी तो केमिस्ट्री पे चल रही है. Every single life process is chemistry. That is why we call it biochemistry. Right? Let's say I am speaking. So my vocal cords are moving. Vocal cords are made up of muscle and tissue. And it's moving, so it's consuming energy. Energy is coming in the form of ATP. You know that ATP energy. The ATP, adenosine triphosphate, it's again chemical. ATP is coming from oxidation of glucose. The glucose is C6H12O6. The glucose I took it because I had my lunch. In that lunch I had rice or chapati. It is having a starch. Starch got digested into glucose. Glucose reached to the larynx of my body. Oxygen I breathe in. This oxygen reached to that particular site. Glucose plus oxygen combined together. Oxidation occurred. CO2 came out. Water was formed. And then energy came out. So it's simple. हम लोग लिखते हैं ना C6H12O6 plus 6O2 and then it will give you 6CO2 plus 6H2O and ATP, 38 ATP. So it's a chemical reaction. That's what we call it respiration. In this respiration, this is breathe in and this is breathe out. So we say that breathe in air and then oxygen is filtered into the blood, and when breathe out, carbon dioxide will come out. So every single thing, digestion is a chemical process. It's a biochemical process. You eat a starch, starch is broken down into glucose. You eat protein, protein is broken down into amino acid. Amino acid will be broken down into ammonia. Ammonia will convert it into urea by liver, and kidney will eliminate it. So it's again chemical reaction, right? All these chemical reaction put together, it called metabolism. So everything that is happening in our body is chemistry, right? So this metabolism is what? It's a, in a short form we can say biochemical activities in cell, because cell is fundamental unit, or you can call it body also. No problem. Something happening in body is happening in the cell itself. So just write whatever I am writing because we'll learn a few things. So metabolism is biochemical reaction occurring inside the cell or body. Each and every cell is doing something at biochemical level, right? Even your muscle is moving, so it may look like a physical movement, but if you look at the muscle cell level, it's again biochemical. वहां भी कुछ biochemically हो रहा है. You get my point? And you know that in chemistry lab also we talk about two things, that chemical reactions can be of two types. One is constructive one. If constructive chemical reactions are going on, it will give you matter. Some product will be formed. And destructive one. If destructive is going on, it will give you energy. Like petrol को burn किया, constructive या destructive है? Destructive है. Petrol burned into carbon dioxide and water, energy came out. And photosynthesis में क्या होता है? Constructive है, starch is formed. So in general also reactions can be of two types, constructive and destructive. Constructive will give you matter, destructive will give you energy. Clear है? पूरा यूनिवर्स किससे बना है? मैटर एंड एनर्जी से. आई मीन यूनिवर्स इज कंपोज्ड ऑफ मैटर एंड एनर्जी, है ना? हमें एक दिक्कत की बात क्या है ना, हम कभी कभी बहुत इजी नहीं सोचते हैं, बहुत डिफिकल्ट सोचने लगते हैं. हमें लगता है कि हम अलग है, यूनिवर्स अलग. वी आर वेरी मच पार्ट ऑफ द यूनिवर्स, राइट? हम यूनिवर्स अलग कहाँ है, राइट? वी ऑल आर पार्ट ऑफ द यूनिवर्स. सो लेट्स कंसीडर, व्हेन आई से एंटायर यूनिवर्स, दैट मींस ह्यूमन बीइंग्स आल्सो. Every animals, everything that is present around us, it is composed of only two things, matter and energy. तो हम भी किससे बने हैं? Matter and energy. Matter you can see like this, body mass is matter, And energy is sound that I am producing is energy. The movement I am doing is energy. You get my point? And who will provide this matter and energy? Metabolism. Metabolism will provide matter and energy. A small baby is there growing, more and more matter will be accumulated. How? Because of all constructive reactions, right? And that is why we provide nutrient to that particular person. Or let's say if any of you go to the gym for muscle building, you just want to add more matter into your body in terms of muscle. Then you go for what? Supplements, protein intake you increase. You get my point? So that you can add more matter into your body, in your cell, in your body, whatever you say, right? So metabolism can be of two types. In 9th and 10th class we talk about. One is called anabolism. In anabolism what will happen? Construction would happen, right? Photosynthesis is, and then catabolism, destruction would happen, energy will come out. Usko रहने दो, छोड़ दो. It's just like metabolism is biochemical reaction, biochemical activity. It will be of two types. Either it can give you matter or it can give you energy. Both will come, right? And in our cell, there are different types of biochemical reactions going on. In one cell, 100 type of biochemical reactions are going on. It's not like just one. That is why cell structure is needed. Cell is a kind of lab. Let's say if we all go for chemistry lab to do a reaction and we all have been assigned a particular reaction. So what we'll do? We'll use separate instrument. You will use beaker, I'll use test tube, somebody will use flask, because each and everybody has been assigned a different kind of reaction. ऐसा तो नहीं होगा कि we'll have a drum, in that drum we'll put all the chemicals together. तब तो क्या होगा? Explosion ही होगा. Because if we have assigned different type of chemical reaction in chemistry lab, so we have different chemical in our hand, we need different setup to carry it out. So cell is a setup in which metabolism will take place. You know, mitochondria is called powerhouse. ATP generation is there. So that is mitochondria duty. In that mitochondria, there is a specific type of metabolic reaction going on. That is specific type of metabolic reaction in mitochondria enable mitochondria to produce ATP. In ribosome, protein synthesis will take place. We'll talk about that. Ribosome cannot produce ATP, but ribosome can produce protein. So all the cell components are the different setup in which different type of metabolic activity will go on. Something will produce matter, something will produce energy, and cell will run on that. Cell constantly require matter and cell constantly require energy. Cell छोड़ दो, universe में कोई भी चीज बिना matter energy का चलेगा क्या? If you want to operate this building also, you need constant supply of matter and energy. Then only this building is going to run. Again, it's a part of universe. That's universal rule, right? अच्छा, ये building बना किस चीज से? Building बनी भी matter energy से ही है, और फिर चलाने के लिए भी वही चाहिए. तो सोचो हमारा cell किससे बना है? Matter energy. So cell is made up of matter and energy. That is why cell is functional. And inside the cell functionality, more matter and more energy is being given so that cell can function. But then a time will come when the cell will have surplus matter and surplus energy. कभी तो ऐसा होगा. And when cell is having surplus matter and surplus energy, तो cell कहेगा कि अब हम divide करेंगे. I'll divide into two. And the moment it divides, it's reproduction. You get my point? तो आप देखो ध्यान से कि ये तीनों अलग अलग है या एक है? एक ही है. It's a line of thinking. So we started with a very basic thing, but this is what required. UPSC का मतलब नहीं कि book निकाला पढ़ लिया. You have to link it, right? That live process is metabolism. It's a chemical reaction. Chemical reactions can be of two types: constructive, destructive, matter, energy. Everything in the universe is made up of matter and energy. Cell is also part of it. Cell is a setup in which metabolic activity will take place. No cell, no metabolism. Cell नहीं तो metabolism ही नहीं. So cell is a setup where metabolism will go on. This will go on here. But a time would come when the conditions are favorable. Then time would come when cell will have surplus matter and surplus energy. And when this surplus matter and energy is there, then this cell will divide. And division of cell will be known as what? Reproduction. Amoeba को देख लो आप, simplest reproduction वही तो पढ़ा था. One amoeba divides into two. So when this amoeba is going to divide, when the amoeba has plenty of food and favorable environment, if there is no food, reproduction नहीं करेगा. ऐसे भी पढ़ते हैं कि स्ट्रेस जब भी होता है रिप्रोडक्शन रेट कम हो जाता है किसी भी ऑर्गेनिज्म. Any organism which is threatened by any kind of stress, environmental stress, biotic stress, any stress, then reproduction rate would fall down, है ना? So all these three things are together: metabolism, biochemical activities inside the cell. Cell is a place where metabolism will take place, and inside the cell, due to this metabolism, surplus energy and matter would be accumulated, and the moment it is accumulated, it will go under reproduction. आप सोचो reproduction क्यों नंबर 1 पे रखा? क्योंकि सवाल ये है क्योंकि this organism is reproducing. It means cell is dividing. Why cell is dividing? Because there is a lot of matter, lot of energy coming from where? Live process. तो बात तो वही हो गई. ये वो ऊपर से नीचे की तरफ जाओ या नीचे से ऊपर की तरफ आओ. It's the same line. So reproduction is a hallmark. Once reproduction, it explains everything. Why reproduction? Cell division is going on. Why cell division? Because there is a lot of matter and a lot of energy. From where it came? It came from the life activities or metabolism going on inside the cell. You got my point? Now we come to the adaptation. Adaptation is another feature, but that's a very useful one. Adaptation means that you change according to the changing environment. And it could be of different type. One is behavioral adaptation. वो भी होता है. अभी आप थोड़े विंटर के कपड़े पहने हो, राइट? इन 15 days, अब तो लगता है फरवरी में नेक्स्ट ईयर से पता नहीं विंटर किधर जा रही है, फिर क्लाइमेट चेंज का कितना इम्पैक्ट होगा. So that is behavioral, but I'm talking about biological adaptation, right? The best example that I can give is that you go out in the sun, stand for 2 hours or 3 hours, play cricket in the afternoon, and you come home a little tanned. Your skin tone will be a little darker. That is adaptation. It is adaptation to protect your body from harmful impact of ultraviolet radiation. It's not a bad thing. Tanning is not at all bad. Tanning is the protection mechanism which save our body from harmful impact of ultraviolet radiation. Because in our body we have melanin pigment. People who are fair, they have less melanin. People who are darker have more melanin. And no matter which skin tone you have, if you go and stand in sun for few hours and few minutes also, then you will realize that in skin melanin spread is more. तो जो भी skin tone था उससे थोड़ा dark ही होंगे, and that's required because melanin will neutralize the impact of ultraviolet radiation, and it will save you from the skin burn and skin cancer and all kind of things, right? You come out of the sun, you stay in the home indoor for 2-3 days, you get back to the normal color, है ना? हालांकि उसके लिए अब तो बहुत सारे D10 पैक वैक भी आता है जिससे कुछ नहीं होता, लिटरली कुछ नहीं होता. तो वो D10 करके बोलते हैं कि अब घर से बाहर मत निकल, तो ऐसे भी मत निकलो तो ठीक हो जाएगा. So that's a marketing gimmick, है ना? So that is short term adaptation, right? This is a short term one. Long term is that if you go to Kashmir, you will find 95% people in Kashmir population, they are fair. Only 5% people will be either whitish or dusky. And as we travel from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, you will realize that the skin tone is getting darker and darker. By the time you reach to Kanyakumari, the ratio is reversed. 95% people are having darker tone, 5% people are having fair skin tone. And that is long-term adaptation. And it depends upon how much solar radiations are coming to that particular region. Now you see that Kashmir is at the upper part, it is at higher altitude, right, and latitude also. So sun rays will be coming oblique, then ultraviolet radiation will be less, and the people will be less exposed to ultraviolet radiation. So melanin pigment will not form, and that happened for thousands of years. So something happened for thousands of years that will include inside the DNA and genetic materials, and now it will pass on to the generation to generation. Kanyakumari is 8 degrees away from equator, very close to the equator. Sun rays are coming direct. 12 hours sun rays will be there. Strong sunlight would be there. Ultraviolet radiation will be more. So for there, the protection of skin is very important. So nature has given this more melanin into those populations. And we know that in the entire world, if a population is living near equatorial region, they all are darker in complexion. The people who are living in subarctic region, they are very fair in complexion. Although humans are migrating, अब तो माइग्रेशन हो रहा है बहुत, तो माइग्रेशन के बाद वो सब मिक्सअप हो गया, but still original inhabitant of equatorial region are darker and original inhabitant of subarctic regions are white people, and that's just because of one environmental factor, that is ultraviolet radiation in the sun rays, and that is called long term. So it could be short term, है ना? So short term is tanning, one example we can put in, and long term is called evolution. So long term will be known as evolution. So evolution is long term, and their skin complexions are there in variety of populations that we come across. So this is also very important, because obviously this kind of ability are there in the living organism only, and that not only limited to human beings, it's there with many organisms. If you go to the African population, in Africa में देखते हैं ना, बहुत बड़े-बड़े जानवर होते हैं, big size predators are there. उनका lion और हमारा lion दोनों बहुत डिफरेंट. हम जितने भी लॉयन के फोटो देखते हैं ना, हमारे वाले तो है ही नहीं. हमारे वाले देखना है, गुजरात गिर में जाओ आप, है ना, उनके मेन बहुत बड़े नहीं होते. यू विल बी, अगर आपको इंडियन लॉयन का कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं पता है, तो यू विल बी थॉरली डिसअपॉइंटेड बाय लुकिंग एट द इंडियन लॉयन, है ना. और वो इतने बड़े बड़े मेन काइंड ऑफ दो मूवीज में देखते हैं ना, दैट इज कमिंग फ्रॉम अफ्रीका. एलिफेंट, इंडियन एलिफेंट स्मॉल इन साइज, अफ्रीकन एलिफेंट बिग इन साइज. व्हाई? बिकॉज वहाँ पे इक्वेटोरियल रीजन में सारे फॉरेस्ट और बहुत ज्यादा वहाँ पे टेम्परेचर, तो बिग साइज विल गिव यू मोर, आई मीन मोर एरिया टू रेडिएट द हीट आउट, है ना. अफ्रीकन एलिफेंट के कान बहुत बड़े होते हैं, है ना, क्योंकि कान की स्किन पतली होगी और वहां से हीट रेडिएट करेंगे, राइट. इंडियन एलिफेंट के कान उतने बड़े नहीं होते, क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ उतनी टेम्परेचर है नहीं. So these all are adaptation. Elephant used to be like one only, but then they changed according to the environment. So that is something that we'll talk about. So now you know that in biotech there is something called biology, and in biology, study of life, living organism, and these are the characteristics of living organism that you need to keep in mind. मतलब कुछ भी लिखना नहीं है, but now the references would keep on coming, right? Basic concepts are required. When we study, we don't realize that what and how it is going to be used, but then in a coming time we'll always get back to these references and we'll learn from here only. Now there is one thing, and there is something called virus, and viruses are unique because they are connecting link between living and non-living. Now viruses are important, you know that. Every year a new virus is coming to disturb us. But viruses are connecting link between living and non-living. How come a single virus could be living and non-living at the same time? So living because they can reproduce. So reproduction is there, that is why they are living, but non-living because no cell structure and no metabolism. no cell structure, no metabolism, right? We'll look into that, don't worry. One by one, we'll look into that. I mean, after COVID, everybody know how and in what way virus look like. वायरस का डायग्राम सबको पता है. दो तरह के डायग्राम देखने को मिलते हैं. एक तो ये वाला बहुत फेमस हो गया अब तो, है ना. सबसे ज्यादा फेमस इधर कोरोना वाला ही चल रहा है ना. And there is another one which is equally famous, this one. This is also virus, anywhere you can find it. And then it's not complete because inside you will have this structure, right? So this part of virus is genetic material, and this could be either DNA or RNA. And this part, the white part, is protein. So, I mean, in virus, the major thing is protein body, and inside the protein body, you have small amount of DNA or RNA. We'll talk about DNA, RNA in detail, don't worry. It's like one by one, step by step we'll go. I mean, all I mean to say that if you look at these viruses, does it look like cell? सेल की तरह तो नहीं दिख रहा ना. सेल तो देखा ही है ना आपने बुक में, न्यूक्लियस, माइटोकॉन्ड्रिया, कुछ तो नहीं है. दैट मीन्स नो सेल स्ट्रक्चर. सेल स्ट्रक्चर तो है ही नहीं. एंड लाइक आई टोल्ड यू दैट नो सेल, नो मेटाबॉलिज्म. सेल इज अ सेटअप. In that setup only metabolism can occur. Like lab is a setup. In the lab only chemical reaction can occur. So in that way you have to take cell is a setup. If there is no cell, no metabolism. But still this virus will be able to reproduce. So how viruses can reproduce? तो viruses क्या करता है? Host में enter करता है. Viruses are looking for a suitable host. Inside the host body it will enter. It will start using the host's machinery. Viruses are parasite. Viruses are absolute parasite. मतलब viruses को जिंदा रहना है तो कोई ना कोई होस्ट चाहिए. वो किसी को मार के जिंदा रहता है. You get my point? In a most easy term, I always compare viruses like terrorists. So viruses are like terrorists. We are Indian citizens, right? हम इंडिया में इंडिया के सिटीजन्स हैं. We have a setup. We have a setup where all life process is going on. इसको हम कहते हैं home, house. We all are having house, right? यहाँ भी है तो आपका एक setup है. And you go back there, and once you go back there, you feel relaxed because all your life process related to daily life is there. I also have house. Everybody has house. But when terrorists enter in India, do they have house? कुछ नहीं उनके पास. They only have AK-47 और RDX. एक थैला है, उस थैले में RDX है और AK-47 डिसेंबल करके रखा हुआ है और थैला को छुपते छुपाते लेके घूम रहा है. हाउस नहीं उसके पास, बट वो घूम रहा है कॉलोनी में. और फिर उसने देखा एक दिन कि एक हाउस खुला हुआ है तो एंटर कर गया. The terrorist enter into the house, and the moment it enter into the house, terrorist will take out AK-47, and with the help of AK-47, now the entire house is hijacked by terrorist. terrorist ने क्या किया? पूरे हाउस के ऊपर कब्जा कर लिया. हाउस की सब कुछ वैसे ही है, हाउस ओनर है, सब कुछ, एवरीथिंग इज देयर, बट नाउ एंटायर कमांड ऑफ द हाउस इज ट्रांसफर्ड टू द terrorist because terrorist has got very strong weapon that is called AK-47. है कि नहीं? हालांकि एक टेररिस्ट और भी आया था उससे पहले, उसके पास चाकू था, उसको बहुत पीटा हमने, है ना. तो ये ऐसे वायरल इन्फेक्शन थे जो हुए लेकिन हमने उसको डिनाई कर दिया, है कि नहीं. लेकिन ये टेररिस्ट जो आया ना, इसके पास AK-47 था. इससे निपटने का हमारे पास कोई सिस्टम है ही नहीं. So now terrorist is using entire house system for their own benefit. अब हाउस में क्या चल रहा है? दो ही चीज चल रही है. constructive and destructive, matter and energy. So now this house will produce matter, but the matter will be produced according to the wish of terrorist. आप वेजिटेरियन हो, आप पनीर बनाने का कोशिश कर रहे हो. टुडे यू वांटेड टू कुक पनीर, टेररिस्ट एंटर्ड और कहा कि नहीं हमें चिकन खाना है, अदरवाइज आई हैव AK-47. सो व्हाट इज द वे आउट? चिकन बनेगा, आप नहीं खा पाओगे, कंज्यूम कौन करेगा? टेररिस्ट. स्ट्रॉन्ग कौन होगा? टेररिस्ट. 2 कमरे का या 3 कमरे का फ्लैट है, उसमें एक में AC लगा हुआ है मान लो, टेररिस्ट कहेगा कि मैं इसमें सोऊंगा इन AC, आप लोग चलो एक कमरे में लॉक कर दूंगा आप सब. सो एनर्जी ऑफ द हाउस एंड मैटर ऑफ द हाउस विल बी यूटिलाइज्ड बाय टेररिस्ट. एंड टेररिस्ट यही तो है, तो ये भी तो बना हुआ है मैटर से ही ना. तो नाउ टेररिस्ट विल मल्टीप्लाई. सो टेररिस्ट विल बी entering like one, but it will multiply, reproduce inside, because now terrorist has got cell also. Inside our body, virus has entered inside our cell, so cell has been hijacked. Now virus is having a cell, not own but hijacked one, and the moment virus is having cell, the virus will have metabolism also. And once cell and metabolism is there, although it's not belonging to virus, it's belonging to the human body or animal body, but now it is being commanded by virus itself. So because of this, reproduction would occur. You get my point? Exactly same thing happened with the COVID. When this coronavirus came, we got exposed to it. Then this virus entered into our respiratory system. And Delta variant of corona, that was the massive one, Delta variant. वो क्या करता था? वो लंग्स के सबसे लोअर सरफेस के सेल में जाता था. लंग्स के सबसे लोअर सरफेस का मतलब होता है alveoli, that lining. From that lining only oxygen get inside the body. So that lining is itself is a very delicate thing, and this virus entered into the lining cells only. And once it enters inside the cell, it will destroy the cell. One virus will enter, it will consume the cell, and 100 would come out. So nearby 100 cell will be infected, and that is why we started using our lining. अब वो लाइनिंग जब लूज करेंगे तो क्या होगा? ऑक्सीजन परमेबिलिटी कम हो जाएगी ना. तो SpO2 हमने चेक किया, 94 तक तो ठीक था. The moment it slipped down to 92 or below, then it was alarming condition, because it means that our damage is done, right? And there was somebody where damage was done so much that due to less supply of oxygen, the person lost the life. हम लोगों में से बहुत सारे ऐसे जो हम सारे लोग बैठे हैं रिकवर कर गए, because somehow we learned how to deal with that terrorist. We'll talk about that too. That's a matter of immunity. So now you understand how these viruses are working. Viruses are non-living. If the viruses are there on this table, it's non-living. It's a particle. It will degrade over the time. Maybe within few hours, maybe within few days. It all depends upon the surrounding environment. If it's cool and dry place, the virus will survive longer. That is why during this season, viral infections are more, because it's a cool and dry season. You get my point? अभी cool and dry है ना, air में moisture कम है और ये cool भी है. तो here the particle of the viruses which is spread in this room, it will last longer. It's a non-living, but it will last longer. और अगर हमने यहाँ पे टच किया तो इस पे आ गया, फिर अपने नोज को टच किया तो नोज के अंदर चला गया, and then it will infect, right? In a summer time, temperature is high, humidity is more, and these two things are not good for virus. समर में बैक्टीरियल इन्फेक्शन होगा, फंगल इन्फेक्शन होगा, क्योंकि बैक्टीरिया और फंजाई को क्या चाहिए? हॉट एंड ह्यूमिड कंडीशन. यू गेट मी पॉइंट? वायरस को क्या चाहिए? कोल्ड एंड ड्राई कंडीशन. But ultimately, if the virus is here on this surface, it is going to get degraded. It's just a chemical. It's a small molecule of chemical, and it will undergo chemical degradation for sure. But the moment it enter into our cell, then virus become active. This DNA or RNA is the virus is AK-47. Rather, entire virus never enter. It just push the DNA and RNA. We also have DNA RNA in our cell. लेकिन हमारा DNA RNA क्या है? इसके मुकाबले में कमजोर है. यस, मैंने जैसे कहा कि वायरसेस भी दो तरह से. एक वायरस चाकू लेके आया था. That means the DNA or RNA was not potent enough. We had a stronger one in comparison to that DNA RNA. हमने मार के भगा दिया. है ना, पता भी नहीं चला इन्फेक्शन हुआ, या फिर जस्ट सिम्टम केम फॉर 2 आवर्स, दो घंटे, एक आधे दिन के लिए लगा कि थोड़ा फीवरिश लग रहा है, एंड वी जस्ट रिकवर्ड. But if the virus is coming with a more potent DNA, then we are going to suffer. That is why different variants of corona comes in. जब different variant of corona कहते हैं तो मतलब क्या है? The coronavirus has got RNA, not the DNA. It will have RNA. So Delta variant has stronger RNA. It was a kind of really AK-47 kind of thing. लेकिन उसके बाद ओमिक्रॉन वेरिएंट आया था, आपको याद होगा, उसका RNA उतना बढ़िया नहीं था in terms of infection and all, in terms of mortality, in terms of killing people. Infectious वो ज्यादा था, लेकिन mortality उसकी कम थी. So we were not very much worried about it, right? So you can write one point. So first point you can write. Viruses enter inside the host cell. Viruses enter inside the host cell, and it hijacks entire cell. It hijacks entire cell and metabolic activities. Metabolic activity. Full stop. They make protein of their own kind. They make protein of their own kind. They make protein of their own kind, and they multiply inside the cell. They multiply inside the cell. That is reproduction. That is reproduction. So you need to understand, I mean, it's just one understanding that viruses are equal to terrorists. No home, but when they enter into the home, they consume the entire resources of the home. They become stronger, and we don't have any defense there at that time only. तो हम वैक्सीनेट करते हैं या फिर हम एंटिसिपेट करके कुछ ना कुछ काम करते हैं. We'll talk about that too, right? Then viruses can be of different type. So let's talk about types of virus. So there could be A, based on genetic material. Based on genetic material. So the first one is called DNA virus. Second one is known as RNA virus. RNA virus is also called retrovirus. DNA virus is DNA virus only, there is no other name. But this retrovirus is a very unique name, right? So any virus can have DNA or RNA, and if inside the virus you could see that this virus is having RNA, then it is called retrovirus. Now retro means old, you know that. And why it is called retrovirus? Because now we know that RNA was the first genetic material which appeared on the earth. Hai That is why the name retro has been given to this. If we compare DNA and RNA, and if I ask one question, that during the chemical origin of life, which would have came earlier? RNA came earlier. You know that RNA, DNA we are going to study in detail. Hai But one thing we know about RNA, RNA is single stranded structure, right? And DNA is double stranded. अब बताओ इसमें complex कौन है? Single या double? Double complex. That is another thing, that always things will form from simple to complex. तो RNA is simple one पहले बन गया, complex थोड़ा बाद में बनेगा. But एक और problem है. Simple things are easy to change. If things are simple, it's easy to change. Complex things are difficult to change. Complexity will reduce the flexibility of changes. more complex, less change, less complexity, that means more simplicity, more changes. है कि नहीं? We'll relate with that. I mean, in the very first class we got a lot of thing, but with the when the classes go ahead, then you get clarity of everything slowly, right? तो देखो आप अब इसी बात से समझ में आ जाएगा कि डीएनए वायरस, एंड इफ वी गो विद द एग्जांपल, then there is something called hepatitis B. So hepatitis B virus is DNA virus, right? Any pox virus, पॉक्स में 3 पॉक्स बहुत कॉमन चल रहे हैं. एक तो स्मॉल पॉक्स सब जानते हैं, है ना? स्मॉल पॉक्स सब इसलिए जानते हैं कि दैट्स द फर्स्ट डिजीज दैट हैज बीन इरेडिकेटेड फ्रॉम द एंटायर वर्ल्ड. ह्यूमैनिटी से इरेडिकेट कर दिया, है ही नहीं वो. बट इट यूज्ड टू बी द वन ऑफ द डेंजरस डिजीज ऑफ द मैन काइंड, सिविलाइजेशन का. बट स्मॉल पॉक्स पे मैसिव वैक्सीनेशन हुआ है एडवर्ड जेनर के टाइम से. And then smallpox is the first disease that has been removed from the entire globe. Then second one is chicken pox, जो हो ही जाता है साल में, मतलब जीवन में एक बार तो होता ही है जब चेहरे पे निकल जाते हैं. And then recently it's a monkey pox. Any pox, it's DNA virus. That means inside genetic material is what? DNA. Another one is herpes. Herpes virus. It's a wound kind of thing, that is skin infection. So these 3 are the most common DNA virus that you will come across. I mean, if we talk about the viruses that is infecting human beings, and if you make a list out of it, you will not find more than this. मतलब जो पॉपुलर नेम है यही मिलेंगे आपको, बाकी सब अब टेक्निकली बहुत मेडिकल साइंस में जाना पड़ेगा. बट देन ऑब्वियसली वी डोंट नीड टू गो टू द मेडिकल साइंस. मतलब जब भी हमें लगे ना कि व्हेन वी आर गोइंग इन अ डेप्थ ऑफ एनीथिंग, स्पेशली इन जीएस क्लास, तो रिमाइंड करना है कि तैयारी किस चीज की कर रहे हैं, यूपीएससी की. क्या पढ़ना है? जनरल स्टडीज करनी है, स्पेशलाइज स्टडी नहीं करनी. लगता है कि स्पेशलाइज है, लेकिन ऐसा है नहीं. अभी तक जितने भी मैंने बातें की वो सब 9th-10th लेवल की है. नथिंग इज मोर देन 9th and 10th, है ना? तो हेपेटाइटिस, पॉक्स एंड हर्पेस, दीज आर द 3 वायरसेस दैट वी कम अक्रॉस इन अ जनरल टर्म्स, एंड दीज आर द डीएनए वायरस, है ना? और आरएनए का नाम लिखूंगा ना, खत्म ही नहीं हो, इतने वायरस हैं. जैसे सबसे पहले तो कोरोना, फिर मीजल्स, सब सारे नाम सुने आपने, मम्प्स, इन्फ्लुएंजा, एनी फ्लू, एनी इन्फ्लुएंजा, किसी भी के आगे फ्लू, इन्फ्लुएंजा कुछ भी लगाओ, H1N1 फ्लू, XYZ फ्लू, कुछ भी, दिस ऑल आर आरएनए, है ना? स्वाइन फ्लू, बर्ड फ्लू, कुछ भी, राइट? Then dengue, chikungunya, पोलियो, जीका, निपा, हंता, आपने सुना है ना सारे नाम. मतलब ये मामला इतना तक है ना कि अगर मान लो कि कोई नया डिजीज आया और आपको बताना ही हो, केबीसी की सीट पे बैठे हो और आपको बताना हो कि डीएनए है आरएनए है, तो आरएनए बोलो, चांस है कि सही हो सकता है कि नहीं? एंड इट्स अ वेरी डिफिकल्ट, एचआईवी फॉर दैट मैटर, एचआईवी, राइट? So these all are RNA viruses, and still the things will go on. Chikungunya, polio, Zika, Nipah, Hanta, HIV, it will go on, right? And the thing is that this thing is never ending. ये end नहीं कर रहा. Like I just told you that RNAs are less stable, right? It will change. That is why dealing such disease is very difficult thing. क्योंकि हम एक से निपटते हैं तब तक वो अपने आप में चेंज कर लेता है. You get my point? That is why we are still under threat of the coronavirus. It is still not over. Every time when the new variant would come, it means what? The coronavirus's RNA has changed. After change, everybody has to look into that. WHO स्टडी करती है, और स्टडी क्या करती है कि ये चेंज जो हुआ वो कैसा चेंज है. This change has made this virus weaker. अगर वीकर है तब तो कोई बात ही नहीं. We never get to know about those variants. and the change can make the virus stronger, but stronger in two terms. One is mortality, another is infection. अब दोनों में अगर दोनों एक साथ आ गया तब तो बहुत मुश्किल होगी. And whenever a new variant comes which is highly infectious and infectious than more than the previous one and mortal, तो हम फिर स्टडी करते हैं कि जो वैक्सीन लिया था कोविशील्ड या कोवैक्सीन, will it work or not? And if it is not going to work, then maybe we'll have another spell of the pandemic. That is why they say that coronavirus is not going to go anywhere. It's there with us. But yes, मतलब ऐसा बहुत likely नहीं है कि एकदम से कुछ ऐसा ही चेंज होगा जिससे हमें वो मारने लगेगा फिर से. Like but we have seen Delta variant. Delta variant was the variant that was first discovered in India only. आगे चल के एक टॉपिक पढ़ेंगे जीनोमिक सर्वेलेंस, और आपने सुना होगा एक नाम इंसा कॉग, राइट, इंडिया SARS-CoV-2 कंसोर्टियम फॉर जीनोमिक स्टडीज. एंड देन we just take the sample of coronavirus from the hospital and we study its RNA to find out whether it's a new variant or the older one, right? So all the things will link there. That's one of the topic that we are going to discuss. So DNA and RNA. Now there are few things that we need to learn. The first thing, that DNA is genetic material, RNA can also be genetic material, but only one place, that is what? Retrovirus. So you can write कुछ points लिखो. In biological world, DNA and RNA both are genetic materials. Both are genetic materials. Genetic materials. But RNA as genetic material is present only in retrovirus. Is present only in retrovirus. Present only in retrovirus. So I use the term biological world, right? That means entire biology. If they ask that which of the following can be genetic material, DNA, RNA and protein, then you will have to go with the DNA and RNA. But at the same time you need to understand that RNA as genetic material is present in just one group, and that is retrovirus. Although in our body we have DNA, RNA both, but in our body, in your body, DNA is genetic material, RNA is helping material. It's not genetic, right? So you can write one more point. In human being or any other organism, in human being or any other organism, in human being or any other organism, both DNA and RNA are present. Both DNA and RNA are present, but RNA is genetic material, RNA is genetic material, sorry, DNA is genetic material, sorry, DNA is genetic material, and RNA is involved in protein synthesis. Right? So in our body we have DNA, RNA both. All organisms have DNA, RNA both. But DNA is genetic material, that means it's coming from our fathers and mothers, and then everything in our body is determined by the DNA only. It's a blueprint of our body and all the activity which is happening inside the body. And RNA is helping material which make protein. The protein synthesis in the body is done by RNA. अभी तक देखो दो पॉइंट पे प्रोटीन आया. एक प्रोटीन देखो यहाँ पे आया था, मैंने कहा था कि इसकी बॉडी किससे बनी है? प्रोटीन से. अभी मैंने बोला कि हमारे बॉडी में भी प्रोटीन बनाएगा. I'll tell you one thing. In the entire biology, especially in the animals, then we talk about, or let's forget about the animal. हम एनिमल के बारे में बहुत नहीं पढ़ना है. ह्यूमंस, इन ह्यूमन बीइंग each and every structure of our body is made up of protein, right? सब कुछ किससे बना है? प्रोटीन से. प्रोटीन के साथ और कुछ भी एसोसिएटेड हो सकता है, बट प्रोटीन तो है ही, राइट? Our hair is made up of keratin protein, nails are keratin, skin is keratin, muscles is actin and myosin protein, bones are osine protein, in blood we have albumin protein. I mean, no matter what sample in the blood you, I mean, from the body you take out, the major constituent of that particular tissue, cell or organ will be protein. You get my point? That is why if somebody is going for gymming, तो मसल जब बनाना है तो क्या कहता है ट्रेनर? प्रोटीन इंटेक बढ़ाना पड़ेगा. और इन जनरल ऑल्सो सबसे बड़ी बात है कि वो छोड़ो, मसल बनाने की बात छोड़ो, इन जनरल भी अगर किसी न्यूट्रिशनिस्ट से मिलोगे ना, वो बोलेंगे कि प्रोटीन रिच खाना खाओ. जो आपसे पूछेंगे कि आप सुबह से शाम तक क्या खाते हो, तो फिर उसके बाद वो कुछ ऐड करेंगे, रिप्लेस दिस विद दिस, बिकॉज इंडियन जो फूड हैबिट है ना, इट्स मोर टुवर्ड्स कार्ब्स, लेट्स टुवर्ड प्रोटीन. पहले बैलेंस था, जब हम अनसिविलाइज्ड थे तो बैलेंस था. है ना? सिविलाइज होने के बाद थोड़ा इम्बैलेंस हो गया, बिकॉज सिविलाइजेशन का मतलब क्या है? एग्रीकल्चर, देन प्रोसेसिंग ऑफ द फूड. आई मीन, पहले तो क्या था कि वी वर हंटर एंड गैदरर. सो व्हेन यू हंट एंड गैदर, इट्स अ रॉ फूड दैट यू यूज्ड टू कंज्यूम. एंड हंटर एंड गैदरर ही थे. और हंटिंग एनिमल की होती है, मैंगो की नहीं होती. मैंगो की गैदरिंग होती है. इट्स अ काइंड ऑफ, यू नो, कुछ भी फिश, एनिमल, मैंगो, वी यूज्ड टू हंट एंड गैदर थिंग्स एंड वी यूज्ड टू ईट. फिर हमने सिविलाइजेशन कर लिया, एग्रीकल्चर शुरू कर दिया. फ्रॉम एग्रीकल्चर यू स्टार्टेड गेटिंग द कार्ब सोर्सेस, बहुत सारे कार्ब के सोर्सेस मिलने लगे. सो ट्रेडिशनली वी केम टू दैट पॉइंट वेयर स्पेशली इन द प्लेनर एरिया ऑफ द इंडिया, जहाँ पे एग्रीकल्चर बेस है हमारा, वहां पे एनिमल्स को हमने मारना बंद कर दिया, बिकॉज एनिमल्स को हमने बीस्ट की तरह यूज करना शुरू कर दिया, लेबर के लिए, मिल्क के लिए. तो प्रोटीन इंटेक हमारी कम है. दैट इज वाई इंडियन फूड इज नाउ, दे कॉल इट दैट आवर फूड इज डेफिशिएंट इन प्रोटीन, है ना? एक नॉर्मल इंसान को जितनी बॉडी की वेट है, लेट्स से यू आर 70 kg, 70 ग्राम ऑफ प्रोटीन इज नीडेड एवरी डे, राइट? And remember, 70 gram of protein, not 70 gram of dal, right? Because in 100 gram of the dal, you will have around 10 to 12 gram of the protein. तो सोचो, 10 to 12 gram of the protein, 100 ग्राम दाल के अंदर, एक कटोरी दाल के अंदर. अब आपको लीटर में पीना पड़ेगा ना 70. You get my point? So that is why. And normally they say that with every meal, I mean, let's say we have 3 major meal in the day, then every meal there should be 20 gram of protein. तो इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट. आई मीन, अगर कभी कैलकुलेट करके खाने बैठ जाओ ना आप, आपको बहुत परेशानी होगी. इफ यू आर नॉन वेजिटेरियन, यू विल मैनेज इट, क्योंकि उनके पास एक ऑप्शन है एग वाइट का. एक एग वाइट 3 ग्राम, 2 6 ग्राम, 5 खा लो आप, 10 खा लो. एग वाइट में तो कोई टेंशन नहीं है. वो पीले वाले में कोलेस्ट्रॉल का भी मामला थोड़ा बहुत रहता है, एग वाइट में कोई इशू नहीं. इफ यू आर इन वेजिटेरियन तो थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम ज्यादा है कि कितना मटर खाएं, कितने दाल पिए, कितने सोयाबीन खाएं, right? But then protein, what I mean to say, that protein is one of the most important thing in our body. Everything in our body is moving around protein, and I am giving you one statement: every structure in our body is made up of protein. Remember it, no matter what. I mean, सेल में भी आ जाओ ना, तो सेल का प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन किससे बना है? प्रोटीन से. फॉस्फोलिपिड एंड प्रोटीन. हम लोग कई बात बोलते हैं ना, एंटीबॉडी बन गया बॉडी में. एंटीबॉडी क्या है? प्रोटीन है. हमारे सेल्स पे एंटीजन है, क्या है? प्रोटीन है. यू गेट मी पॉइंट? सो प्रोटीन इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग एंड विल कम टू दैट पॉइंट वेरी सून, राइट? नाउ दैट इज वन वे. second types of virus be based on host cell, host or target, based on host or target. So based on host and target, it's a very easy one. Plant virus. So virus is not plant, but the target is Host is plant cell. Then animal virus. Host is animal cell. Then there is something called bacteriophage. Bacteriophage. Host is bacteria. So viruses can kill bacteria also. And there is something called mycophage. Host is fungi. So fungi is the host. That means viruses can be of different type. It can infect all life forms. You know? So bacteriophage, mycophage. Bacterio means bacteria, myco means fungi. Phage means virus. UPSC has asked one question in prelims examination. और एग्जामिनेशन में क्वेश्चन क्या था कि वायरसेस कैन इन्फेक्ट विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग, प्लांट, एनिमल, फंजाई, तीन ही ऑप्शन थे. और फिर था 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 1, 2 and 3, so all 3. So obviously sometime very easy things can also come up. We should be open for that. And very easy means really very easy. Let's say, like I told you one thing, that DNA and RNA, there are two type of viruses, and human population is more disturbed by RNA viruses. क्योंकि जब हमने नाम लिखना शुरू किया तो 3 मिले हमें कहां से, DNA से, और RNA वाला खत्म नहीं हो रहा था. And if you look around, then mostly RNA viruses are disturbing us. So it must be having something, right? So tomorrow if they frame any question around that, you can combine all the thing together, that RNA is single stranded, simple structure, more changes can occur. तो RNA ही चेंज कर दिया तो वायरस चेंज हो गया ना. हमने मेडिसिन बनाया एक के लिए, वो चेंज हो गया. Why can't we make a vaccine for HIV? अब तक क्यों नहीं बना पाए? Because the rate of change in HIV virus is very high. इतनी जल्दी जल्दी वो चेंज करता है कि हम कोप अप ही नहीं कर पाएंगे. Yes, please. No, RNA can be double stranded also. There is in viruses every possible thing can come up. In virus there are some viruses which are having single stranded DNA, then double stranded DNA, single stranded RNA, double stranded RNA. In viruses these all possibilities are there. But in our body DNA is always double stranded, RNA is always single stranded. तो हम लोग मान के वही चलते हैं. हम लोग क्या कहते हैं, RNA is single stranded, except in viruses RNA can be double stranded. DNA is double stranded except in viruses DNA can be single stranded, but then exception है ना. हाँ जी. शुगर कंटेंट, लिपिड कंटेंट मिलेगा ऊपर, वो हम लोग बात करेंगे, विल टॉक अबाउट दैट. बट देन शुगर कंटेंट का मतलब क्या है, दैट्स मैंने क्या कहा, प्रोटीन इज इंटीग्रल फैक्टर, along with protein something can be there. तो क्या कहेंगे इसको, शुगर मिलेगा तो क्या कहेंगे, ग्लाइकोप्रोटीन. द नेम वुड चेंज, ग्लाइकोजन प्लस प्रोटीन, ग्लूकोज प्लस प्रोटीन, शुगर प्रोटीन, है ना. तो होगा, दैट इज देयर. Anyway, so now we know about virus a little, right? Next thing that we should learn in a basic concept, that is cell structure. Cell structure. So remember, this is not something that we are, हम लोग पढ़ नहीं रहे, we are just understanding few things so that we can talk in a proper way from the next class, right? So when we talk about cell structure, let's make a cell like this. Inside the cell we have nucleus. So this is nucleus. Nucleus will talk later, but there are few cell organelle that we need to talk about. Nucleus will have what? DNA. It will have DNA. There is another one that is called mitochondria. Mitochondria, you know that powerhouse of the cell? Yes, fine. it will also have DNA. Mitochondria is another cell organelle where the DNA would be present. In our body, if you take one cell out, you get DNA at two places, right? One is nucleus, another is mitochondria. Here the DNA will be known as mDNA. क्या कहेंगे इसको? mDNA. So, how many places we have DNA in our cell? Two places, nucleus and mitochondria. Again, this information will come handy in biotech. इसके बारे में बातचीत होगी. Now, whatever cell mechanism we have, that will be guided by nucleus, because nucleus has got the blueprint, and the blueprint is what? DNA. है ना? So, there is something called, there is one structure that is called endoplasmic reticulum, right? It's like this. I am making a very rough diagram. We don't need to get into the details of it. So, this is endoplasmic reticulum. We call it ER. That is called endoplasmic reticulum. It's all over the cell. In this ER, you will have something attached to it. These small red dots on ER is ribosome. So, these structures are ribosome. So, two things together you have to develop. ER, that's a pipe like a structure. It's all through the cell, and on this structure there are some small bead like a structure attached to it, that is called ribosome. Ribosome is a machine, and this machine can make protein. In our cell, the protein making machine is ribosome, right? It's a machine, like any machine, it could be machine. So, what is the function of ribosome? Ribosome function is protein synthesis. So, protein synthesis is a function. You know that this entire cell setup work like a factory. It's like a factory. In a big factory, there is one CEO who's take care of everything, and CEO is sitting inside the chamber. Nucleus is the chamber. In the chamber, this DNA is CEO. DNA will never come out. It will be always be there. But DNA will send some commands to the outside. So, every cell setup is under command of the DNA, is CEO. And the main function of the cell is to make protein. मैं फिर बता रहा हूँ, बॉडी सब कुछ बना किससे? प्रोटीन से. तो सेल का भी मेन फंक्शन क्या है? अलग अलग टाइप की प्रोटीन बनाना. And for protein making, we have one machine, and that machine is ribosome. There could be thousands and lakhs and millions of ribosomes, depending upon the cell activity. You get my point? But having machine will not be sufficient. You need to install the machine. So, to installation, this endoplasmic reticulum will provide surface. Surface is being provided by ER. It's like mixer and grinder, right? In our household also we have mixer grinder. काम नहीं होता तो कहीं रखा होता है, और जब भी मसाले पीसने हैं तो हम उसको निकाल के असेंबल करके फिर सरफेस पे ही रखते हैं. So, ribosome is like that only. If ribosome is not engaged with protein synthesis, it will be floating around in the cytoplasm. But whenever ribosome has to make the protein, it will look for a surface, and ER will be providing the surface, right? So, once it is attached to the ER, it is making protein. Who is giving command to make the protein? DNA दे रहा है कमांड. लेकिन DNA कमांड कैसे दे रहा है? RNA के थ्रू दे रहा है. DNA is making RNA, and RNA is giving command to the ribosome. It's like, let's say, it's like I have one note, and this note is master copy. It's original copy. I have just one original copy, that is DNA. And let's say if you need my notes, then I'll give you photocopy, right? I won't give you an original copy. So, DNA is master copy, RNA is photocopy. You can make as much photocopy as you want. You got my point? So this DNA will give command to ribosome through RNA, and after reading this command, this ribosome is going to make protein. It's like CEO is having entire document of the production. कौन सी चीज कैसे बनती है सबका फॉर्मूला सीईओ के पास है. सीईओ बना नहीं रहा, फॉर्मूला उसी के पास. एंड इफ एनी फैक्ट्री इज आस्किंग फॉर अ पर्टिकुलर फॉर्मूला, वो फाड़ के तो नहीं देगा ना, वो फोटोकॉपी करके देगा, क्योंकि अगले टाइम फिर यूज होगा. सो एवरी टाइम डीएनए विल मेक आरएनए, आरएनए विल गो एंड इट विल मेक प्रोटीन इन एसोसिएशन विद राइबोसोम. सो नाउ दिस DNA will be giving command to this ribosome, and who will give command? That is called mRNA, messenger RNA. What we call it? Messenger RNA. Even the name is messenger RNA. Messenger RNA is messenger of the DNA, taking this command to the ribosome to make the protein that DNA wants to make. And it's like simple setup. CEO sending message to the factory to make the protein of a particular kind, right? Once the protein is made, so protein must be stored. सोचो फैक्ट्री में अगर कुछ बनेगा तो कुछ समय के लिए तो रखना पड़ेगा ना. That is called post production processing. इसमें दो तीन चीजें होती हैं, स्टोरेज, मॉडिफिकेशन, पैकेजिंग एंड डिलीवरी, राइट? फॉर दैट देयर इज अनदर थिंग. उसके लिए यहाँ पे एक गोल्जी बॉडी है, right? This kind of structures are there. So this is Golgi body, and Golgi body does what? Storage, modification, packaging and delivery of protein. So this protein will be transferred to Golgi body, and these all are part of the Golgi body. That is all we need to know about cell. इससे ज़्यादा नहीं जानना है, because if you go beyond it, it will be too technical. Because we are focusing on one thing, that is protein. In today's class, we are focusing on just one thing, and that is protein and how these life activities are there. Although there are lysosome, centrosome and all kind of thing, ठीक है. NCERT निकालो, 9th class, cell is a chapter, read that. But for biotech, we need to understand this pathway. DNA is a blueprint, CEO, RNA is messenger, ribosome is a machine that will make protein. For install the ribosome, you need a surface, ER is providing surface. Ribosome will make protein according to the instructions given by the DNA, and once protein is made, then this protein is not going to release instantly. This protein will be stored inside the Golgi body. So Golgi body is engaged with the storage, modification, packaging and delivery. Let's say storage तो पता ही है, स्टोर करके रखना है. मॉडिफिकेशन मतलब क्या? मैंने क्या कहा, केराटिन प्रोटीन स्किन में भी है, नेल्स में भी है और हेयर में भी है, तो मॉडिफाई तो करना पड़ेगा, right? It's the same protein but in a different form. It means modification has been done. You know that one thing, all structures of our body is made up of protein. एक statement ये है, all enzymes in our body is made up of protein. That is the second statement. जितने भी एंजाइम आज तक सुने हैं ना हमारे बॉडी में, सब प्रोटीन है कि नहीं? तो सोचो, there are hundreds types of enzyme in our body. Except for 4-5 hormones, all hormones in our body is protein. Enzymes क्या करता है? Enzyme is catalyst. Enzyme is a biological word that has been coined. अगर केमिस्ट्री में एंजाइम को हमें एड्रेस करना हो तो हम वर्ड यूज करेंगे कैटलिस्ट. You know what is catalyst? Catalyst is something which can enhance the rate of reaction. It will make any reaction possible. That is catalyst. In biology also we talked about that in our cell, in our body, everything happening is biochemical reaction. At the end of the day, वो भी bio इसलिए लगाया कि body की बात है. If I remove the word bio and I say it's a chemical reaction, it won't be wrong. It's a true one. but we call it biochemical so that we can give a sense that it is happening inside the living creature. So in a biochemical reaction also you need catalyst. So there we need biocatalyst, and biocatalysts another name is enzyme, and all the biocatalysts in our body is enzyme. So it means that protein is not only for a structure, protein is also there for each and everything happening in the life in the body. So protein is not only deciding the structural part, protein is also deciding the functional aspect. If digestion is happening, it's a protein doing it, because enzyme will work and digestion will occur. If your enzyme is not working properly, then what will happen? Digestion will not occur. So the very structure of a stomach is made up of protein because it is made up of muscle, and inside the stomach digestion is going on, so that function is also being guided by protein. You got my point? तो पूरी लाइफ पता है कैसे चलती है? अगर पूरे को सम अप करो ना तो पूरी लाइफ चलती है ऐसे, डीएनए टू आरएनए, आरएनए टू protein. That's the life. That is why this is called central dogma of biology. है ना? हम बचपन में पढ़ते हैं, 10th में नहीं पढ़ते, 11th 12th में आता है central dogma, central principle of biology. Central dogma of biology. DNA to RNA, RNA to protein. DNA is blueprint. RNA is message. It's a photocopy of that blueprint. DNA is permanent thing, RNA is transitory. And ultimately what you get? Protein. And if you extend this, then this protein has two functions, structure and function. The structure of body and functions by enzyme. So we must be convinced for one thing, everything that we do, we are doing under influence of either hormone or enzyme. All enzymes are protein. That's the biological proverb, है ना? ये सब बायोलॉजी में कहावत की तरह यूज होता है. All enzymes are protein, but all proteins are not enzyme, right? Like let's say the most common hormone that we know is insulin. It's a protein. Insulin is protein. No matter which enzyme you talk about, it's all protein. No matter which organ you talk about, it's all made up of protein. So body will make which kind of protein, it will decide our body organs, the skin color, the eye color, the hair texture. किसी के hair curly है, किसी के straight है. It's all depend upon the kind of protein the hair follicle is making. Protein कैसा बनेगा वो बताएगा हेयर कर्ली है स्ट्रेट है. प्रोटीन कैसा बनेगा डिपेंड करता है आरएनए क्या मैसेज लेके आए, वो डिपेंड करता है कि डीएनए के पास क्या मैसेज है. यू गेट मी पॉइंट? एंड दिस डीएनए मैसेज वी गेट इट फ्रॉम वेयर? आवर फादर एंड मदर. So father and mother has contributed the DNA, sperm and ovum carrying the DNA came together, a new combination of the DNA was established, and out of this DNA the entire body is formed. So whatever we are is due to the blueprint that we received from our father and mother. Half blueprint we got from father, half we got from mother, and then the both came together and a new design, a new combination was created. That is why each and every one of us is unique. हम फादर मदर से मिलते जुलते हैं, हम बिल्कुल कॉपी तो नहीं है ना उनकी. Some feature will match with father, some feature will match with mother, and some new combination would also come up, right? So that is the cell thing that you need to know, right? So this is something that you need to understand. DNA to RNA, RNA to protein. Protein makes a structure of the body, and all the functions in our body is guided by the protein itself. Now let's come back. इसमें कहीं कुछ पूछना है? I am just giving you just enough thing which is required, उससे ज़्यादा नहीं. Nucleus we are going to talk in detail. अभी हम लोग शुरू करेंगे. ER is surface, ribosome is a machine. Whatever protein is made, it's there in Golgi body, and Golgi body will package it and deliver it. Deliver का मतलब क्या हुआ? Secrete करना. जैसे हमारे स्किन से स्वेट सिक्रीट होता है. इन द स्वेट ऑल्सो देयर इज वन एंजाइम दैट इज कॉल्ड लाइसोजाइम. कहाँ से बना होगा? इमेजिन करो. अगर वो एंजाइम है तो प्रोटीन है, और प्रोटीन है तो कहाँ से आया होगा? गोल्जी से आया होगा, क्योंकि गोल्जी के पास स्टोर था. तो गोल्जी बॉडी का ये वाला पैकेट यहाँ आया और ये फट गया. यहाँ से क्या निकला? स्वेट निकल गया, एंजाइम निकल गई, और उसके लिए ग्लैंड्स अंदर है, पाइपलाइन ऊपर तक खुल रही है. स्टमक की लाइनिंग है, लेट्स से वी हैव अ स्टमक लाइनिंग, राइट, एंड स्टमक लाइनिंग हैज गॉट लॉट ऑफ सेल्स. यहाँ पे ऐसे सेल्स बना दिए मैंने, एक सेल, ये सारे सेल्स हैं. ऑल दीज सेल्स आर मेकिंग एंजाइम, एंड ऑल द एंजाइम हैज बीन मेड and it is stored in the Golgi body. Store है अभी पैकेट में. That round was a packet of enzyme. The moment we eat, then our body get a signal that food has arrived. Then what will happen? This packet would come close to the cell membrane. It will break the cell membrane, and then enzyme will be delivered inside the stomach. Just consider that this is a stomach. This classroom is a stomach. तो जितने भी wall है वो क्या है? Stomach की wall है. And all the bricks of this wall are basically cells. Now imagine each and every brick is having a small, small vesicle, small ball, and this small ball is having 5 ml of the liquid. That is enzyme. But there is a 1 lakh bricks, and if 1 lakh bricks is going to give you 5 ml, then total amount of the liquid that will fall into this room, that would be huge. That is our body function. I get it. Now, the most important thing is nucleus, because once we enter into nucleus, then only the biotech starts, right? So nucleus look like this. A nucleus will look like this. And inside nucleus you will have this structure, entangled thread-like structure. Apart from this, there would be a dense liquid present. This liquid and all we don't need to bother about. So this is nuclear membrane. Nuclear membrane, which is made up of protein only, obviously. This is called nucleoplasm. Nucleoplasm. And the most important thing is this entangled thread-like structure. ये क्या है? ये है chromatin network or material, whatever you want to say. It's not, we don't call it DNA. This entangled thread-like structure is chromatin network, right? But हम तो पढ़ते हैं कि न्यूक्लियस में डीएनए होता था, right? Yes, DNA is there, but not in the form of DNA. Chromatin network would be there, and if you get inside the chromatin network, then you will realize it is made up of two things: DNA, and along with the DNA there is one protein that is called histone protein. अभी क्या बोला था? Everything in our body is made up of protein. Even the chromatin is made up of protein. Yes, DNA plus protein. Which protein? Histone protein. So if I take one cell of my body, we get inside the nucleus, what we will find out? DNA or chromatin? Chromatin. The structure would be of chromatin. Yes, one of the component of the chromatin would be DNA. अब कैसे समझे इसको? DNA chromatin. तो पतंग उड़ाई है ना आपने, तो मेन तो धागा होता है, लेकिन उसके ऊपर मांझा लगा होता है. तो डीएनए धागा है और उसके ऊपर लगा हुआ प्रोटेक्शन क्या है? मांझा है. हिस्टोन प्रोटीन इज लाइक दैट ओनली. हिस्टोन एंड डीएनए entangled together, then they make protein, sorry, chromatin, है ना? डीएनए is our genetic material. Genetic material. It's our blueprint. And histone is non-genetic material. What I mean to say, that in this room and in this world, every individual will have unique DNA. My DNA will not match with your DNA, but my histone and your histone is same. So histone can never be genetic material. Histone is common protein which is present in each and every human being present in this room and in this world. Histone will be of same kind. What will change is DNA. But once you enter inside the nucleus, you won't find DNA, you will find chromatin. In chromatin, there are two things, DNA and histone. Every information is written onto the DNA. Histone is just a protecting layer, right? It's like your mark sheet and lamination. So every mark sheet is unique. Nobody's mark sheet could be same. सेम तो नहीं हो सकता ना, नेम चेंज होगा, एड्रेस चेंज होगा, फादर्स नेम चेंज होगा, रोल नंबर चेंज होगा, सब्जेक्ट मार्क्स कुछ तो चेंज होंगे. If two mark sheets are same, then it's belonging to same person. But lamination सबके तो एक ही है, right? If you want to test your academic credential, then we'll focus on the digits and data written onto the mark sheet. We'll not focus on the quality of lamination. You got my point? So that is why whenever we talk about nucleus, तो मैथमेटिक्स में एक तरीका होता है ना कि जो सब में है उसको कॉमन ले लो. तो हम बात करने के टाइम में क्या करते हैं ना, हिस्टोन को कॉमन ले लेते हैं. बट इन रियलिटी इन न्यूक्लियस यू डोंट फाइंड डीएनए. व्हाट यू फाइंड इज हिस्टोन, सॉरी व्हाट यू फाइंड इज क्रोमेटिन. हिस्टोन इज समथिंग दैट वी टेक कॉमन बिकॉज इट्स प्रेजेंट एवरीवेयर, सो वी टेक इट लाइक हिस्टोन तो सबके पास ही है ना. लेट्स टॉक अबाउट डीएनए ओनली. यू गेट माय पॉइंट? So that little differentiation should be there. क्योंकि अगर आपने ये बोल दिया कि न्यूक्लियस में डीएनए पाया जाता है, स्टेटमेंट करेक्ट है, बट उसी के साथ अगर ये लिखा होगा कि न्यूक्लियस में क्रोमेटिन पाया जाता है, तो अब पहला वाला गलत हो गया. बिकॉज नाउ इट इज मोर अप्रोप्रिएट. यूपीएससी will make many questions in prelims that you don't need to find the correct one. उसमें मोस्ट करेक्ट ढूंढना होता है. कई बार तो चारों ऑप्शन गलत दिखते हैं, तो उसमें सबसे कम गलत ढूंढना होता है. यू गेट माय पॉइंट? इट्स नॉट लाइक एब्सोल्यूट ट्रुथ, एब्सोल्यूट राइट, एब्सोल्यूट रॉन्ग, ऐसा नहीं. 4 ऑप्शंस, सबसे करेक्ट क्या है, सबसे अनकरेक्ट क्या है, इन दैट वे. सो you can call it like in a nucleus DNA is there, no problem. But if somebody is saying in nucleus chromatin is there and in chromatin DNA plus histone is there, DNA is genetic materials on which every information is written, and histone is just a kind of layer and protecting molecule which is there with everyone. So that's the correct explanation, right? There are 4-5 terms. एक तो term हमारा था chromatin, another term is DNA, then another term is gene, and then chromosome. These all are same, you know, सब same है, थोड़ा थोड़ा अंतर है. Chromatin you know now, DNA entangled with histone is known as chromatin. Remove histone, then you get only blueprint, that is DNA. Although only DNA you don't find in human body, नहीं मिलता. But whenever we have to talk about genetic material, we'll talk about DNA only. We'll remove the histone. Mentally, we'll remove it. Then what is gene? Genes are segment of DNA. You get my point? DNA is a kind of long thread. DNA तो बहुत लंबा सा thread है. But on this thread, all the informations are written. But there are many information written. You know that in our DNA, in one cell we have one DNA like this big DNA. अगर मान लो तो इसके ऊपर 30,000 segments हैं. These 30,000 segments are 30,000 genes. I'll give you analogy, you will understand it. You know the thread देखा है ना आपने, मार्केट में thread मिलता है, and there is something called designer thread. In designer thread, the color of the thread would change, black, फिर blue, फिर green, फिर yellow. It will keep on changing randomly. So one end to other end of the thread, its entire DNA, and all the color segments on the thread is genes. You get my point? So there could be this gene. मैंने कहा कि ये एक gene है, gene 1. Then this is gene 2. कुछ भी नहीं है. फिर यहाँ पे क्या है? Gene 3. फिर यहाँ पे क्या है? Gene 4. So this point A to point B is DNA, and segments of this DNA is called genes. How do we differentiate between this? So gene means complete set of instruction for one character. Let's say my eye color is black. So my DNA segment has some information written, and this information is sufficient to make my eye black. So character is black eye, information is written onto a piece of DNA, and that piece of DNA will be known as gene for eye color. तो लेट्स से कि ये वाला जो है ना वो है जीन फॉर आई कलर. तो जीन फॉर आई कलर इतना ही में, दिस पॉइंट टू दिस पॉइंट जीन फॉर आई कलर. इसके बाद कुछ दूसरा इंफॉर्मेशन हो, फिर तीसरा हो. इट्स लाइक अ बुक. द एंटायर बुक इज डीएनए, एंड देन each and every paragraph is one complete information. So one paragraph, that means one piece of information is one gene, and that is responsible for one character. Another piece of information is another gene, and if you keep on counting, then on one DNA molecule, one DNA string, you will have 30,000 such pieces. So DNA is one molecule, genes are segments of the DNA. क्या है वो? Segment. Again analogy is the same thing. धागा है, धागे के ऊपर मांझा लगा है, तो धागा is DNA, मांझा is stone. Remove the manja, then you realize that dhaga is designer thread. So one complete from this end to that end, that is the DNA. But then on this thread there is a different color bands of varying length. कोई इतना छोटा है, कोई इतना भी बड़ा है. These all color bands are basically genes. And how many such color bands would be there? 30,000. है ना? So which one is bigger unit, gene or DNA? DNA बहुत बड़ा है. Gene is segment of it. बट मार्केट में जाते हो धागा खरीदने तो ऐसे ही थोड़े दे देता है उठाकर, वो रील बना के देता है ना. सो सेम थिंग विल हैपन इफ दिस डीएनए. अब देखो यही डीएनए था, मैंने कहा कि दिस इज द डीएनए, ये डीएनए है, इसी को इधर डीएनए मैंने कहा. एंड ऑन दिस डीएनए हमने कहा था कि आई कलर की जीन ये है, दिस इज जीन फॉर आई कलर. जस्ट वन जीन आई एम कंसिडरिंग, just one. Now what will happen? This DNA will start going under coiling. इसकी coiling होगी. It will lose coil, and then it will coil more, and then it will coil even more. So this structure, ये जो coil और ज़्यादा हो गया, so this structure is what now? This is chromosome. This is chromosome. Now you just look at this. In this DNA, this segment is gene. अब ये वाला जीन इधर कहीं अपीयर होगा ना, ये है, इसमें ये यहाँ है, और इसमें ये यहाँ है, right? So now look at this. What is gene? Gene is a segment of DNA. Look at the chromosome. Genes are present on the chromosome. बोल सकते हैं आप. सिंपल एक एनालॉजी यूज करो. डिजाइनर थ्रेड है, जब मार्केट में खरीदने जाओगे तो वो तो रील के फॉर्म में मिलेगा ना. एंड ऑल द कलर्स सेगमेंट वुड अपीयर एज डॉट्स ऑनटू इट. उसको देखने पे क्या लगेगा? रेड डॉट, ब्लू डॉट, ग्रीन डॉट, डॉट्स के फॉर्म में मिलेंगे ना आपको. सो जीन हैज गॉट टू डेफिनेशन. क्या मैं बता रहा हूं? सो जीन हैज गॉट टू डेफिनेशन. वन इज when the thread is open, then genes are segment of the DNA. But what will happen? This DNA will not remain open all the time. This DNA will coil with the stone protein, and with the stone protein it will coil to form a structure, fixed structure. Like when you go to the market to buy the thread, thread is not coming in a loose form, it's coming in the rill form. It's a fixed structure. So there will be paper. On that paper it will be wound upon, it will be sealed. So imagine that paper is a stone protein, on that it is wound upon, and then you got a reel. So coiled structure of DNA along with the stone protein is chromosome. So all the segment of the DNA would now appear as points onto the chromosome. So gene has got two definitions. The first one, genes are segment of DNA, and second, genes are located on the chromosomes. है ना, एक डायग्राम देखते हैं, उसमें क्लियर पता चल जाएगा. इंटरनेट है ना इसमें, तो ये क्या है? Okay. So now you see this, you will understand. Don't get into this structure, हम लोग उसको देखेंगे आगे, कल पढ़ेंगे. So this is what DNA. Here you can see this part is what, one gene. एक जीन दिखाया है, बहुत सारे हो सकते हैं. Now this DNA, this yellow part is what, the stone. So this yellow ball like structure is what, the stone. So along with the stone, now it has become chromatin, and when this chromatin coiled, then it formed what, chromosome. So this will appear, this particular segment would appear somewhere here, कहीं तो होगा वो कलर, है ना. So this is DNA, the entire thread is DNA. Segment of these threads are genes. We are just showing one gene, there are 30,000 genes, right? And then when this DNA along with the stone will coil, first of all it will make chromatin, and chromatin will coil to form the chromosome. Then all these genes would appear as dots located onto the chromosome, है ना. तो होता क्या है कि just one thing should be there, that when we go back to this thing, तो जब आप क्रोमेटिन पढ़ो तो आपके दिमाग में बात आनी चाहिए. What is chromatin? DNA plus stone in cell nucleus. What is DNA? Strip the stone out, the remaining part is DNA, genetic material. Genes क्या है? The segment of DNA holding information for one character. And what is chromosome? When this chromatin will coil, then a fixed structure would be formed, that is called chromosome. So you can write genes are unit of inheritance. Genes are unit of inheritance. Inheritance or genetics you can say. Inheritance you know that. अब प्रॉपर्टी का मामला हो तो इनहेरिटेंस समझ में आता है तुरंत, है ना. But before you can inherit the property of the parent or grandparents, DNA तो inherit किया ही है ना. So main inheritance is DNA. In my body the DNA is not mine, it is coming from my father and mother. By the way, in their body also the DNA is not belong to them, that is coming from my maternal grandparents and paternal grandparents, and that is how we are carrying the DNA. तो मेरे बॉडी में जो DNA है वो पता नहीं कितने हजारों लाखों साल पर पुराना चला रहा है. You get my point? That is why once we study the human genome, human genes, we can trace back in time and we can find out कि what was our ultimate origin. उसके लिए mythology पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं है, DNA खुद बता देगा. That is why people are so scared of giving their DNA nowadays, because DNA is holding a lot of information that can shatter your belief. एक मिनट में खत्म कर देगा. If somebody is so much fanatically thinking about their own religion and being proud that I belong to that religion and I'm the purest form of that religion. कई बार होता है ना, कुछ लोग ऐसे होते हैं कि I am the pure one. DNA पता चला कि नहीं, हाइब्रिड है कि नहीं, क्या होगा सोचो, सोसाइटी का क्या होगा. आई ऑलवेज गिव वन एग्जांपल कि हम सब पढ़ते हैं ना, सेंट्रल एशिया से इन्वेडर आए, आके अटैक किया, तो हवाई जहाज पे बैठ के तो आते नहीं थे वो. They will travel on foot. It takes years to come. अब years to come, तो यहाँ पे ऐसा नहीं कि 10 दिन में लूट पाट के चले गए. दे स्पेंड ईयर्स हियर, फिर जहां गए वहां शादी भी की, लोकल जो पॉपुलेशन थी वहां के लेडीज शादी, बच्चे भी हुए, एंड व्हेन दे वर आफ्टर प्लंडर दे वर गोइंग बैक, तो कई बच्चों को और लेडी को छोड़ दिया और कुछ को ले भी गए होंगे. इन हिस्ट्री वी टॉक अबाउट दैट, इन दैट रीजन दे मेड द मैरिज, उनके ऑफिस स्प्रिंग अभी भी वहां है. लेकिन आज तक कोई आया ऐसा इंडिया में जो आगे कह रहा हो कि आई एम द जनरेशन ऑफ दैट इन्वेडर who came, attacked in India, made marriages to all the places, to the local ladies, and then baby was born. कोई ऐसा नहीं मिला. Everybody is Suryavanshi, everybody Chandravanshi, right? Nobody is talking about Ravan. जबकि रावण का ननिहाल इधर ही था, है ना? रावण का मदर्स प्लेस तो इधर ही था, है ना? तो उसके तो कहां गए? राम जी ने सबको मार दिया क्या? नहीं, इट्स अ काइंड ऑफ सोशल नॉर्म दैट वी हैव क्रिएटेड. इट इज जस्ट फॉर फॉर द सेक ऑफ सिविलाइजेशन. अब सोचो, अभी रिसेंटली आई केम अक्रॉस वन न्यूज जहां पे किसी के अभी प्रिंस, जो यूके का प्रिंस है, उसके अंदर आर्यन के जीन्स एंड कुछ फ्रीक्वेंसी ऐसी मिली है दैट लिंक द लिनिएज विद आर्यंस, है ना? और उधर जर्मनी वाले तो अपने आप को समझते, हिटलर समझता क्या था, प्योरेस्ट फॉर्म है हम तो. उनका डीएनए निकाला तो उतना भी प्योर नहीं है जितना हिटलर माना करता था, राइट? एंड फॉर दैट मैटर, इफ आई बिलीव दैट आई एम चंद्रवंशी और सूर्यवंशी वंश, आई मीन ऑफ स्प्रिंग ऑफ राम एंड कृष्णा, और डीएनए निकाल के दिया और पता चला इन्वेडर के साथ मैच कर रहा है, यू गेट मी पॉइंट? So that is why DNA has got a very important privacy issue. In Parliament there was one bill that was called DNA Technology Regulation Bill. उसको recall किया because of this only. कि गवर्नमेंट से एक सवाल पूछा गया कि ठीक है, you will take DNA of the people, but guarantee one thing, the DNA will not be misused. Now you can imagine what could be the misuse of DNA. क्या हो सकता है? यही हो सकता है ना कि आप मेरे बिलीफ सिस्टम को खत्म कर दो, राइट? बिकॉज मेरे फैमिली में मुझे बताया कि यू आर डिसेंडेंट ऑफ दिस गॉड. एक तो इंडिया में सारे के सारे लोग जो हैं वो या तो गॉड के, नहीं तो किसी सेंट के डिसेंडेंट, है ना? तो बाकी लोग भी तो थे. आई मीन इन आवर माइथोलॉजी ऑल्सो वी टॉक अबाउट डेमन्स एंड गॉड. तो डेमन्स कहाँ गए? वो भी इधर ही होंगे ना, उनके भी कुछ, अगर राम के वंशज है तो उनके भी होंगे. So all these things have been created, है ना? जैसे कई बार पूछते हैं कि why, I mean, is this true or it is right or wrong? Sometimes there is a conflict between science and belief system. There is no conflict, first of all. Conflict है ही नहीं. Purpose is different. IIT बाबा बता रहे हैं ना, no conflict. In a way, he is right. Because obviously, if you say that I am Suryavanshi or Ramvanshi, तो एक तरीका था सिविलाइजेशन को टेम करने का. बिकॉज वी हैव बीन लर्निंग द स्टोरी ऑफ राम एंड कृष्णा, तो बता दिया कि यू आर डिसेंडेंट ऑफ राम, सो यू शुड बी एक्टिंग लाइक अ राम. सो व्हेनेवर समबडी विल गो रॉन्ग, तो उसको बोलेंगे कि हाउ कैन यू डू दिस, यू आर डिसेंडेंट ऑफ राम एंड यू आर डूइंग दिस, यू कैन नॉट डू दिस. आप किसी को बता ही दो कि रावण के ही तुम वंशज हो, तो फिर क्या ही आप मोरल प्रेशर डालोगे उसके ऊपर? वो बोलेगा ठीक है ना, आई एम डूइंग अकॉर्डिंग टू माई lineage, genes, but then that is belief system that should not be, disturbed. But DNA will tell you altogether different story. So you can write, genes are unit of inheritance. Second one, genes carry information. Genes carry information from one generation to next generation. From one generation to next generation. From one generation to next generation. Next you can write. Normally, one gene determines one character. One gene determines one character. So we say that one gene, one character, right? But sometime a single character can be determined by more than one gene. That is called polygenic effect. Polygenic effect. What we call it? Polygenic effect. Polygenes means more gene, one character. The best example is skin color. So skin color is not just one gene or two gene. There is set of gene. 4 to 8 genes मिलके decide करते हैं skin color कैसा हो, right? That is why we see lot of variation in skin color. Sometimes we see that both parents are whitish, लेकिन baby जो है वो क्या है, बहुत fair है या darker भी हो सकता है. तो if somebody is whitish, इसका मतलब हम ऐसे भी निकाल सकते हैं कि 4 जीन है तो 2 white के हैं और 2 black के हैं. कॉम्बिनेशन बन के आया तो क्या हो गया, ब्रिटिश. वाइफ में भी वही है, 2 व्हाइट के 2 ब्लैक के, ब्रिटिश. बट व्हेन वी कंट्रीब्यूट दिस जीन्स टू द नेक्स्ट जनरेशन, हम तो हाफ ही देते हैं ना. तो इट मे बी पॉसिबल 2 व्हाइट केम फ्रॉम द फादर, 2 व्हाइट केम फ्रॉम द मदर. सो बेबी विल बी फेयरर देन बोथ पेरेंट. उल्टा भी हो सकता है, ब्लैक एंड ब्लैक इज कमिंग फ्रॉम बोथ साइड, एंड समटाइम 1 व्हाइट 1 ब्लैक 2 ब्लैक. सो डिफरेंट varying color would be there, है ना. So if a pure white person is marrying a pure black person, तो बच्चे zebra तो नहीं होंगे, है ना. They will be in between, right? So that both will work together, that is called polygenic effect. Anyway, you can write one more point. There are about 30,000 genes. There are about 30,000 genes present in human being. Human beings means one cell of the human being or entire human being is the same thing, because each and every cell will have that 30,000 genes only. So we don't need to multiply it, right? One more point you can write. Same information, same 30,000 genes in each and every cell. One last point you can write. Genes are carried by chromosome. Genes are carried by chromosome from one generation to the next generation. From one generation to the next generation. Genes are carried by chromosome from one generation to the next generation. Why? Because chromosome would appear only during the time of cell division. So you can write, because chromosome appears only during the time of cell division. Chromosomes appear only during the time of cell division. Only during the time of cell division. So cell divide करेगा, only that time chromosome would appear, because it's like division. So if you want to divide something, then fixed structure is needed. Loose thing you cannot divide. So when the cell is going to divide, at that time only chromosome structure would form, coiling of these things will occur. ये जो देख रहे हो ना, the coil structure would be there, and then it will split into half. ये बीच से कट जाएगा. One part will go in one cell, another part will go to the other cell, so that every cell has got the same information. So again 4 things जो take away है: chromatin, gene, DNA and chromosome. That should be very clear. Should not be any confusion, right? So we, in today's class, we just covered some of the basic concept of basic biology, right? Tomorrow when we'll meet, then we'll get into the little more detail, and that will be structure of DNA and RNA, how these informations are written, right? तो 2 क्लासेस आपकी बेसिक की हैं, ये और नेक्स्ट कल के बाद की क्लासेस जो शुरू होंगी दैट विल बी बायोटेक. So see you tomorrow.